Hello and welcome to the Built Environment Marketing Show. The show is hosted by me, Io Abbas. I'm a marketing consultant, speaker and trainer, and I work specifically with architects, engineers and contractors. I've worked in this sector for over 24 years and have worked for a range of practices, both large and small. I now run my own firm called Abbas Marketing, which you can find out more at abbasmarketing.com. In terms of services, I deliver marketing strategy, content creation and thought leadership, speaking and training services. So do drop me a line if that's of interest. Awards are a massive thing for the built environment and can really help in terms of profile, attracting new talent and retaining talent. And also it can help you get noticed by clients. I've come across many practices who don't have a clear rationale for how they approach awards, let alone how they respond to the opportunities that they present. So this episode, I really wanted to cast a light on awards and I guess how you can get more strategic about them, win more and do more with them. This year, for me personally, I've done quite a bit of judging. Kind of similar to last year as well, where I think I actually assessed over 100 entries last year in terms of judging. This year, I have been a judge on the RIBA Awards for West London, the Brunel University Entrepreneurship Awards, and also a judge for the Architizer A Awards. So 3 completely different types of awards, 3 perspectives and audiences. But also, for me, there's some common themes that always come out when I'm actually judging awards and looking at what wins and also what doesn't. And in the past, I've also reviewed awards programs. So for example, for the RTPI, the Royal Town Planning Institute, I looked at their entire Planning Excellence Awards and looked at how we can make them better in terms of communications and getting more entries in. So that's a completely different lens to look at awards through. But I also do a lot of award entries. So I write award entries for my clients. And to be honest, I've won quite a few. So I do know a thing or two about that too. Anyway, back to me judging awards this year. So I have judged 3 awards this year so far, and we're only in June, which is quite scary. And there are a number of patterns that I see emerging that I want to share with you in this episode today about award submissions and I guess how to make them more compelling and help you kind of win more. So I'll be sharing some of my experiences, some of the things I've observed when I've been judging this year, and hopefully that will help you put together some even better award entries. So first up, let me talk a bit about the different awards that I've kind of been judging this year. And I guess from a marketing perspective, the kind of principles and how you approach them is very similar. So the RIBA Awards, they're the main architecture awards in the UK, which also culminate in the kind of Sterling Prize being given out towards the end of the year. And for me this year, I was really proud to be invited to be a layperson judge for the West London region. So we actually spent 3 days in March, me and the other judges, and we went out and we viewed some of our shortlisted projects. The RIBA Awards are all about architectural excellence, and you have some criteria that you're looking at, but really it's about looking at the entries, but also once judging them, once you go and see them in the flesh, looking at the actual buildings. And what's fascinating about looking at the actual buildings is you could be looking at a tiny project that's £1.5 million, or you could be looking at something that's £500 million. So the scale and the scope and the types of projects you're looking at were so different. And you only get 45 minutes to tell your story and to woo the judges. So that was really important. You had a time limit to actually to share it with us, really. So for the Brunel University Awards, I was actually judging a number of their kind of entrepreneurial kind of program students on, innovation and business impact for their ideas and their new businesses that they're building. So that was really interesting. And, I actually went along to a judging day a couple of months ago, which was also great to kind of see them presenting their ideas and their work, the commercial viability, the innovation, and really what those ideas, I guess the impact that they want to make on the world. So that was absolutely fascinating. And finally, the Architizer A Awards. Now, this is a global awards. You're looking at these amazing entries drawn from all corners of the earth. And really, it's about kind of looking at kind of online submissions, and it's like global reach, popular appeal, design excellence, and kind of every typology you can really imagine. So that's 3 different awards, 3 different types of audiences. But here's what struck me. The projects that really succeeded and really, really got to the essence of an award-winning scheme, they really had mastered some of the kind of fundamental marketing practices. They understood their audience. They told compelling stories. They connected with us emotionally. And they really, really had put some thought into the impact of what they were doing. The ones that didn't make it, did they look at their awards as more of a technical exercise rather than actually a marketing opportunity and a way to kind of form connections with the judging panel? But let's go back. Awards take a lot of time and a lot of resource. So before we start to look at how do you impress a judge, let's start to think about what's the strategy behind why you're even applying. What's the strategy? Why are you entering these awards? Much like you would do for a bid or any other type of written communications, ask yourself, what is my key message? And where do I want to take this and why? So like I said, firstly, it's about knowing your why. I often ask my clients why, and yes, I can get slightly annoying. But it's not me trying to be difficult. It's about making sure that I guess they're addressing and kind of understanding why they want to do this, why they want to spend time on this, why this is important to their business and their future growth. And I think there's a real cost to that. And you have to kind of bear that in mind, plus the entries and the dinners and everything else. You could literally be spending thousands and thousands of pounds. So knowing your marketing goals and why it's important to win is really important. And secondly, I think it's about being selective. Not all awards are created equal. Do your due diligence. Look at the previous winners. Check out the sponsors. Have a look at the publishers. Who is running the awards? Who's won them in the past? Research who will be judging. And sometimes when you get that email that pops in your inbox, just says, "Hi, got a last minute opportunity to enter these awards. They'll only cost you £500. Or even worse, "Hey, you've just won an award. You have to kind of give us this money before you receive it." Either of those, if you get those popping in, maybe just think twice. Have you heard of this award before? If you haven't, why would you waste your time on it? That's what I always say. There are so many money-making scams out there, so just be aware. And finally, I think the other thing to consider in terms of your strategy is that the way that you treat your award entry should be much like how you treat a bid. So for me personally, I form an assessment criteria. I look at the scoring matrix and I tick myself as I go along to make sure that I've hit all those points and buttons. After all, that is how you make the shortlist, and also that is how you go on and win in the end. Hi, it's Io here, and I just wanted to interrupt the show quickly to say a bit more about what I do. I'm a digitally led marketing consultant and I specialise in working with built environment firms just like yours. I think there's so much more that AEC firms can do to make the most of the digital marketing opportunity. And if it's something that you would like to explore working with me, how to make the best of online and in-person worlds, then do get in touch. Email me at io, which is AYO, at abbasmarketing.com, and let's have a chat. So the RIBA Awards, I'm going to focus on this a bit because I know that they're the kind of awards that people know and I guess probably aspire to quite a lot. So for me, I got to go out in March and judge, I guess, West London for the RIBA Awards. And over the 3 days, I managed to visit tons of different styles of projects, from residential homes to cultural buildings, from commercial offices to education facilities, and everything in between. So it's a huge amount of projects in size and scale and scope. And here are some of the things about the winners that stood out to me. They understood the context of everything. They, at one project, they didn't just bring refreshments, they brought the right people. We had the council leader, we had the mayor, the former mayor, we had the project sponsor, we had the engineer, we had the architect. Everyone who could be there was there, and they were all there and briefed and knew what part of the story they were there to kind of share and really embody. And that was so, so important. They also kind of had researched the judges. And I think that's something that people forget sometimes. It's like research the judges, understand who's going to be in that room, and I guess what we're interested in and what buttons we are looking to connect with. For me, I'm a layperson. So that's someone who is a judge, but isn't an architect. So what I look for, I guess I'm more into that kind of the communications, the stories, all of that, how they build it together. And really what's important to me is, does it actually work for the people you've built it for? Does it serve its purpose? Does it serve its function? And I think as well, as we're kind of moving into this new age where social value is so important, what have you done for the community? What language are you using? Can everyone understand it? The next point is that actually some of the people, as they're showing us around, they use different styles and different mediums and tools to actually present to us. So some of them had presentations, gave us a talk before we actually went on the tour. Other people had lovely phone boards where they would kind of set the context and the scene of the site and then start taking us around the building. So they had thought through the story framework and the story arc and how they were going to kind of, I guess, take us on that journey with them, which is what it's all about. In others, they used the building to tell the story. They didn't just talk about the light, they actually took us to the spaces so we could experience it firsthand. They didn't just mention the materials, they let us touch them and explain where they came from and how they came about and the craftsmanship behind them. At one project, which was amazing, they actually met us in the courtyard to show us in the old courtyard. And the reason they did that was to show us how inaccessible the scheme was before the project actually happened. Then you kind of understood the transformation. It just made sense. And I think one of the things about the RIBA tours was the amazing clients that we met everywhere. They were absolutely phenomenal. They gave us actually some of the most powerful moments. Not because they were kind of always gushing with praise, but because they gave us the user's perspective. They gave us the client perspective. When a client says they really listened to us, we couldn't have done it without them. They solved our problems. So, so important. And that really did show to us, the importance and I guess the weight that the architects kind of really gave to that project. And it was really lovely and really reassuring to hear. And I think the other thing that struck us as judges was the fact that actually a lot of the projects we were seeing had actually been started during COVID. So there were delays, skyrocketing material costs. There was just so much going on, and I think, the love and the passion and the kind of tenacity to get a project through to kind of from design through to planning to actually built was just infectious. And I think the other thing about the projects that we kind of really stood out in our minds was the fact that they answered our questions. They structured their presentations and talks and their tours around the judging criteria to make sure we heard the responses to each of the kind of things that we were looking for. They had clearly done their homework on what we needed to assess, and that is so important. So now we're going to move on to some of the kind of ways that you can actually work and win awards. So after judging awards and reviewing hundreds of entries, here are the strategies that I think will help you to win more. Strategy 1, direct answers to direct questions. The strongest entries reflect the question that's being asked, but they also kind of tackle the assessment criteria head on. So basically, you give the judges what they're asking for. You'd be amazed how many people just don't answer the question. So don't be one of those. Strategy number 2. Benefits over features. Outcomes over features. Winners focused on impact rather than just a specification. We did this, that, and the other. Instead of saying we use CLT, they say we chose CLT because it reduced construction time by 30% and cut carbon emissions by 40%. We want to know the result and the impact of your decision making as you go along. That's the really impressive stuff. And if you can quantify it and give us actual stats and proof points, even better. Strategy number 3 to winning awards is using accessible language for diverse audiences. The best entries to me, always remember that judging panels are made up of a variety of people with a variety of skills. So including me as a layperson. So they explain complex concepts clearly without dumbing it down. And they use language in a really amazing way that connects with everyone on the panel. Strategy number 4, compelling storytelling. I do love a story, it has to be said. So those winning entries are structured. They're really structured in a way with a beginning, a middle, and an end. They create a narrative that kind of threads all the way through everything that they do, from the award entry, ties in with the judging criteria, and it really does take the judges all the way on a journey for their written submissions and onto their site visits and beyond. Strategy number 5. Strategic visual storytelling. So the strongest entries will use diagrams and photography and concepts, not just pretty buildings, but also talk about the process and the journey that meant that was how they got there. They invest in capturing all of those different types of mediums so that you have more of the kind of story behind, and they also capture the human impact and design intent. That is so, so important. And finally, let's talk about the bigger picture. So why do awards matter? So it's not just about shiny trophies. It's about much more. Awards can be a great way to boost morale of your team and get everybody on side. People work hard, and having recognition from their peers and the wider industry can really, really be a good morale booster. They help to provide third-party endorsement. That is another thing that is so important. It's always easier to have somebody else talking about you rather than talking about yourself. And if they say that you're great, it just sounds so much more convincing, doesn't it? They're also networking gold mines. You go to an awards dinner, you literally have the great and the good of the industry there. So, and also you get to network with the judges as well. So it's a great way of networking and I guess getting on the radar of others. Next up, winning an award. They generate free press. It's hard to get coverage, we all know that. But awards, shortlists and wins are natural content hooks. And also you get a lot of recognition as well online in terms of social media. And I think the other thing we can't really dispute is the fact that, do you know what? It's really lovely to win. Something positive to share. In an industry where, let's be honest, it can be a bit tough, having some good news where you can share on social media, share it with your clients, share it with your team, it's just a nice thing to have. But most importantly, the skills and the content that you develop for awards can be used across your business, across the things that you do. Learning the skills of storytelling, evidence gathering, audience understanding. This makes everything you do as a practice and everything else in business development so much stronger. And finally, judging these 3 awards for me this year has been really fascinating. I've met some amazingly inspiring people. And the quality of work I've got to see has been amazing. And I guess when it comes to projects, it's the difference between what's won and those who kind of didn't win. Sometimes it was pretty wafer thin, to be honest. But let's be honest, it's all about having clarity, having good preparation and understanding your audience. And these are skills that every kind of built environment firm needs to master if they want to thrive. And if you're thinking about entering the RIBA Awards this year, which are due in December, approach them strategically. Don't just enter everything. Be selective. Understand the criteria. Craft some kind of compelling narratives. And remember that every entry is a chance for your practice to shine. And also, if you can tell a good story, that will help. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Built Environment Marketing Show. If you've got any more questions about awards or my experiences as a RIBA judge or any other judge, do drop me a line at io@abassmarketing.com. That's AYO@abassmarketing.com. Take care. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Built Environment Marketing Show. Don't forget to check out the show notes, which will have useful links and resources connected to this episode. You can find that on abassmarketing.com. And of course, if you like the show, please do share it with others on social, as it helps more people to find us. See you soon.